All right, so while Saturn in Taurus may rule the throat, Saturn in Gemini more rules speech. Saturn in Gemini will rule speech, along with Saturn in the third house. There's also a sibling correlation with Saturn in the third house, and to some degree Saturn in Gemini because it rules the twins. So there could be a sibling, there could be hardship with the sibling, there could be a lot of responsibility for siblings that seems to weigh on the person. But most importantly, it has to do with the early years of life, like early grade school years. And there could be speech therapy with Saturn in the third house or Saturn in Gemini. Someone might have speech therapy. There could also be issues with speech like a stutter, or just something that differentiates the person. For example, someone Black with Saturn in the third house might early on in their life be accused of, like, let's say, speaking white. You sound white. And their peers might ridicule them, and this might be a sore spot for the person, right? But over time, this person who was, ridiculed for talking white might be the person who does really well in corporate environments because they're very good with language. They have their ease with language has benefited them. And that could go into other languages. Could be coding languages. This could be someone who's bilingual, all right? But earlier in life, they may suffer from not being bilingual. Someone who comes, to the United States, for example, they don't speak the language. Later on, learning to be bilingual becomes an asset. So Saturn in Gemini or Saturn in the third house often has speech issues, and there could be some problems with early school education. They could appear slow in grade school. They could have some, problems with their peers and their siblings, as I said. But later on, they could be the person who still has friendships from the second grade. They're very close with a sibling that may be older. They've grown into this area in their lives where the age gap doesn't really count for much. So they've developed a strong bond there. There could be mental dexterity. The person could actually end up being an educator despite their early educational difficulties. There is a Peter Pan complex sort of thing with Gemini energy, which can go really nicely with Saturn, in that Saturn ages well, but Saturn in Gemini or Saturn in the third can help you maintain your youthfulness or your youthful curiosity.